and putting the team on his shoulders. That's why they've been going on this impressive run. What are they now? 25-5 over the last month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah.
Ridiculous like that. So for them to really excel and make it past who I think is going to be a difficult out in the Thunder, he's really got to step up his game even more. That being said, they're still kind of a young team. They've still got pieces in place that I feel like aren't 100% there yet. They're playing great. They're probably one of the best teams in the NBA playing right now. I just think with Westbrook, with Paul George, with Carmelo Anthony, all that experience, all that talent, it has to equate to something. There's a reason they brought all these guys in. So I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to come down to Game 5. I'm going to say Oklahoma gets through. And then with Portland and the Pelicans, man, I wish Boogie was there. What I would do to see this matchup.
I know. It still tears my heart what happened to Boogie.
It does. He's such a great player. Like, regardless if you were a fan of, Sacramento and now he's on the Pelicans, or if you were just a fan of, great basketball, like, he's such a great player and he's such a great guy for the NBA that, yes, he can be loud, sometimes he can be obnoxious, but he's a polarizing player.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's good for the NBA, those guys are good.
And to see him and the unibrow on a team in the playoffs dominating, it's just, those two bigs playing out of their minds, like, that's the matchup you want to see. Those are the guys you want to see playing against Portland. But we're not going to see that. And for that reason, I think it's going to be too much for the Pelicans with the loss of Boogie. So I'm going to say Portland wins, but I think it's going to games to get it done.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just those two, the 3 and 6 and 4 and 5 matchups, I think are going to be awesome matchups. The 1-8-2-7, those very well could be sweeps. I would be surprised if they went 6 or 7 games. So, the West is going to be fun, and really the fun will definitely start during the semis when it just gets narrowed down to even better and better teams. Going to the Eastern Conference, on ESPN, we did have the Philadelphia 76ers winning their 16th, I believe, game in a row. Absolutely destroying the Milwaukee Bucks. 130-95. They were up 46-18 after the first quarter. That is absolutely insane. I really truthfully think this. Milwaukee wanted to lose that game. They were ensuring that they lost because if they won, that meant they were going to be the 6th seed. If they were the 6th seed, that meant they had to play the Sixers again, which really the Sixers probably better than the top 2 teams right now in the East. If they lost, they were either going to be the 7th or the 8th seed, depending on what happened with Washington. They lost. Washington lost. So Milwaukee is the 7th seed, and they're going to be playing the Boston Celtics, who are going to be without at least their best player in Kyrie Irving. Who knows who else they're going to be out? Who's going to be out because a few guys have been out with injury. So Marcus Smart has been out. So really, they've been kind of pulling up the dregs of their lineup lately, trying to piece things together. So Milwaukee, they really tried their best to get a advantageous situation for them, and it worked out. And I'm going to say this right now: if you look at the 1 through 4 in the East, you could make a case that you want to play the number 1 seed the most, the number 2 seed the second most, the number 3 seed the second to least, and the number 4 seed the least. Because the 4 seed is the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and Kevin Love. And when Kevin Love has come back, they've looked amazing, and LeBron James is still the best player in the NBA. The Sixers have won 16 straight games, and a lot of those have been without Joel Embiid, who is their best player. Ben Simmons, like you said, is going to be in a neck-and-neck race with Donovan Mitchell. I think Ben Simmons gets the nod just because he's averaging, 16, 8.5, and 8, which it's been a long time since a rookie has been able to do that. Donovan Mitchell averaging 21.5 points per game, which is awesome. Any other year, he would win it going away. It just happens to be that we have a couple of really good rookies leading a couple of either 3 or 4 seed teams in their respective conferences. So the Sixers are a very, very dangerous team. But then you look at the Boston Celtics, who are the number 2 seed. Like I said, they're banged up. They got Al Horford. They got Jason Tatum. So, I mean, they have pieces there, but they have their superstar missing, Kyrie Irving, who, in my opinion, kind of selfishly took that knee injury or that knee surgery. I guess they found some infected screws, so once they kind of went in there, they figured, okay, we have to do a little bit more of this process, make sure he gets fully healed. We don't want an infection getting on any worse in there. So I understand once they started doing the surgery, they had to go the next step and make it so he was going to be out the rest of the playoffs. But I mean, Kyrie, why didn't you do this in November, man? Like, seriously, they say this has been bugging him for a while. It's just the fact that he decided to do this now is just, it's very Kyrie Irving to me. And then number 1, Toronto. Toronto's had a great season. Don't get me wrong. They have more wins than the Golden State Warriors. They're just behind the Houston Rockets, number 1 seed in the East. But the thing is, when April comes around, for whatever reason, they just start playing worse. And that's true. Like, it just is bona fide 100%. It keeps happening. And their top 2 players, and Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, are both all-stars, and they're both really good players, but for whatever reason, they just don't have the same dynamism to their game like LeBron James, obviously, or any of the other top-tier players in the East, like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. They just, for whatever reason, they don't have that same thing that can work in the playoffs. They always get beat by the Cavaliers, and they probably will again this year. But, hey, I mean, if I were a team like Milwaukee, I would do the same thing they did tonight, because I do not want to play Cleveland. I do not want to play Philadelphia before I have to. I would much rather play one of the top 2 seeds in Boston or Toronto.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that you kind of nailed it on the head when you said Toronto would be the first team you'd want to play, Boston would want to be the second, Philly would be the third, and Cleveland would be the fourth. I couldn't agree more, because, like you said, with Kevin Love back in the lineup, Cleveland's playing out of their mind. They're looking like the team that's made it to 3 straight finals appearances.
Yeah.
And then you look at Philly, this young team, only can get better. The sky's the limit with this team. This team is going to be a perennial playoff contender for the next 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. With the young pieces they have, look at them possibly this year. I don't think it'll happen this year, but say 2 or 3 years down the line, as that's the new Golden State Warriors. That's the finals every single year. I really love this team. Boston, with Kyrie gone, I just don't see it happening. Might get past the first round against Milwaukee. I don't see him getting further than that. And like you said with Milwaukee, because the dream matchup for me in all of the East was Milwaukee versus Philly. I wanted to see that matchup so bad with the guy whose name I can't pronounce his name for the life of me.
Greek
so Giannis.
Freak. Yes.
Giannis versus Ben Simmons. That's the matchup I want. Above any matchup in the entire NBA, that's the matchup I'm so excited about. And if we ever see Joel Embiid, then awesome. Yeah. But Miami, it's done. I'm sorry. They're not going to win. They're out. Philly's going to dominate them. Indiana, as much as it's a cool story to see the pieces that they've had get them there, Cleveland's going to get through them. Toronto and Washington and Boston and Milwaukee is the only one, in my opinion, that's kind of up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think that Washington, with John Wall back, what this team can do. I think with John Wall back, they have a different dynamic. And I'm excited about it because, like you said, come April, Toronto falls apart. Toronto doesn't know how to win when the spring flowers are blooming, when the weather's changing. They want that cold environment, even though it's indoors. They want that cold environment. Apparently,
maybe they all have really terrible allergies. You know,
exactly. That's got to be it. Because there must be something in Toronto, something in the air when the flowers start blooming. Everyone loses their mind because Toronto never seems to get the job done. They always seem to fall apart at the hip. And maybe this is a year. But how many years have we been saying that this is a year that they finally get through and push through and get this win and get that? So bad because they're a very talented team. I love DeMar DeRozan. I love what he brings to the table. But it's like, come on, guys. Eventually, enough's enough, and no one's going to have faith in you. With Washington finally healthy, I kind of want to say Washington's going to win this series. I think it's going to be competitive.
I do too. I mean, I totally agree with the fact that John Wall being there is going to make them a different team. And look, we're both talking about a team that has lost 5 of their last 6 going into the playoffs. I don't care. They beat the Celtics. The one game they won was against the Celtics. They lost to the Bulls. They lost to the Hawks. And they lost to the Magic. 3 really bad teams. But you know what? I think John Wall is the best player in that series. I think, and look, I don't like saying this because Bradley Beal is one of my least favorite players in the league, but I think Bradley Beal really took a leap forward because of John Wall's injury. He had to take care of more of the, playmaking. I think he understood now that, passing is a thing that you can do in basketball. He was like such a shoot first guy and shoot second guy and shoot third guy with John Wall in there. John Wall is out for 2 months. He has to take more of a role playing point guard. And now I think it's going to make him a better overall player. You look at guys like Otto Porter and Kelly Oubre Jr. I mean, these guys are only getting better. Markieff Morris. I think this is, despite them only being the 8th seed in the last few years, have been in the top half of the East. I think this could very well be the best team that Washington has had just because these younger players are growing up and getting better. And look, yes, they took some lumps. I'm not a huge fan of Scotty Brooks, their coach, but I wasn't a huge fan of their coach before, so that's not a huge difference. I just think if you take Bradley Beal, John Wall, Otto Porter, Kelly Oubre Jr., Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat, I think that 5 or 6, whatever I just said, I think is better than the top 5 or 6 of Toronto. Even, the fact that Toronto has gotten a little bit deeper this year with their bench mob that has been playing so well. Maybe they are another year away from developing that one step further and making those young guys get, some reps in the playoffs and get that experience there. I think I'm going to call it right here, Bob. I think I'm going to call for a 7-game series, and I think the Washington Wizards are going to upset the number 1 seed Toronto Raptors.
Couldn't agree more, man. I just think, and he brought a good point, Morris and Otto Porter and Oubre and all these guys, they have so much talent. Like, even with John Wall gone, they were still performing well. I mean, Bradley Beal was kind of being the go-to guy and taking shots that maybe he should have passed more. But with John Wall there, he's not going to have that option. So I feel like this is the team that's going to really kind of make a run. I think they're going to be the team that shocks people this year, come for the playoffs, and I think they make a run. I would love to see this Washington team against Cleveland. I think that'd be an exciting series.
Totally. And you look at kind of forecasting ahead. We didn't really do that in the West, but we can do it here in the East a little bit. So if, let's say, Washington does beat the Raptors, and let's say Giannis takes it upon himself to destroy Brad Stevens, the Kid Wonder, and the Boston Celtics, they will play. Actually, no, sorry. Milwaukee and Boston plays the winner of Philly, Miami. So that's not.
Yes.
So Washington will play Cleveland. I was thinking Washington would play Milwaukee, and whoever wins that would be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we'd see Cleveland versus Philadelphia in the semis. But no, Cleveland and Philly would play each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. Which, I mean, if you had both those teams going full steam ahead, 100%, Joel Embiid back and healthy, LeBron playing for 82 games for the first time in his 15-year career, which is absolutely incredible that he's playing at an MVP level at year 15 and doesn't look to have lost a single step. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, look, the East, we knew the 8 teams that were going to be in it for the last few weeks. The Pistons and Charlotte Hornets both got knocked out at least a week ago, so we had no real injury. We had some of the seeding issues and stuff, but besides that, I guess maybe it's because the ascendance of Philadelphia and the continued growth of Giannis and the continued growth of the supporting pieces for Washington. I think this is the most excited I've been for an Eastern Conference playoffs in the last at least few years, and I'm going to say I attribute that mostly to Philadelphia because they, to me, are the most exciting team out East, unless LeBron is putting up a 50, 15, and 10.
I mean, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? They they really were just involved in the system. I'm talking about Philly here.
Yeah, the
where
process.
They